Hey, all you beautiful folks out there. Welcome to People Pursuing Greatness Podcast, episode 52. Today I'm joined by the magnificent and lovely and well-cultured Mr. Sam McIntosh with the Diamond Noise Agency, music promoter, manager, tour manager, marketing genius, truck driver, former Ranger, Iraq veteran. This man, he's a phenom. He has such bands that you may have heard of. He has bands that you may have heard of, like The Anchor. Yup. That's a podcast alumni. Had them on earlier on. Cannibal Kids, Animal Sun. These are just some of the bands that he manages and promotes. This guy is in the sticky, gooey center of the music industry. We talk about how music has changed over the years, COVID and its fallout for live music, and many more musical topics. The scene is alive and well, and if you think you got something from my man Sam to hear, hit him up at diamondnoiseagency.com. What an interesting podcast, and a look at the underside of one of my favorite parts of life, music, baby. Guys, listen, like, and share this podcast to help me grow the show. We are on YouTube, so this entire podcast is on YouTube, so shut this shit down and click over to YouTube at our People Pursuing Greatness podcast YouTube channel. You just basically type in People Pursuing Greatness podcast. It's a little long. Yes, I know. But it's the one that, you know the name. Or you can, of course, go to ppgpodcast.com to look up every link that I have. We're on, I know you're listening in podcast land, but we are on Apple Podcasts. We're on Google Podcasts. We're on iHeartRadio, Spotify, for God's sakes. We're on all of it. Also, Sam is the producer, co-host, or thrice host, whatever, of a podcast called The Loud Spot with Sebastian. You can find those guys at theloudspot.net. It's an amazing show. They do much better job than I do when it comes to talking about music, or at least touching on that world. And just the camaraderie is amazing. They have an excellent show. So go ahead and check them out. Of course, listen, like, share, the whole bit. Help us grow these shows. This is what we love to do. And of course, if you're out there doing something amazing, or you thought about doing something amazing, and in this particular case, if that has to do with music, absolutely get out there and do it. So you folks out there, stay safe. The CDC says we can go maskless. Hallelujah. So hopefully, we do talk about this in the podcast, you guys are getting out there to check out some of these shows. So make sure you check out wicked bands like The Anchor. Some of these other ones that I talked about, Cannibal Kids, Animal Sun. We talked about another one that Sam wanted me to point out, The Happy Fits, a pop band with a cello bass. They were doing some amazing live stream stuff, I guess, through the COVID era. So make sure that you go out there and support your local scene, wherever that's at. Shout out to all the folks out there that are still doing their thing, even through that ugly 2020 mar on humanity that we knew as COVID. So yeah. So stay pursuing that greatness, my people, and love you guys out there. All right, cheers. Enjoy the show. Interviews with people pursuing greatness. Oh, yeah, sweet. Welcome to People Pursuing Greatness with my boy Sam McIntosh. Am I saying it right?
No, it's McIntosh.
McIntosh. Is that how you say it? McIntosh?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Do you have any affiliation with the Big Apple?
Well, if I did, I wouldn't be on this podcast now, would I?
How dare you? You know what, man? I'm cool enough to have on a McIntosh.
No, we're
That's
just
awesome. So Sam is
just Scottish royalty. That's it, and just found our way to Ohio, and then to Vegas, and then Vegas to Yuma, Arizona. So that's how.
Any shootouts in the history? Yuma, I'm just thinking shootouts. That's all I know about Yuma.
No.
Yuma was, right? No.
Yeah, Yuma was most recent, like 1987. So, there was no shootout. Maybe
okay.
Maybe a little Miami Vice kind of stuff going on, but no shootouts. Yeah.
So Sam is coming to us representing his company that he founded, not co-founded, Diamond Noise Agency. Yeah. Got the hat on the. If you guys are just listening on the audio version, the podcast version, Diamond Noise Agency is the hat that he's got on. Check him out. It's straight up diamondnoiseagency.com. And they actually, and you, I guess, I don't know how to say that, but you know, your entity promotes the Anchor, and the Anchor is when I used to be under a Perch of Birds, the banner of a Perch of Birds. They were on the podcast, and so we had a previous episode. There's a shirt I picked up from a little schwizag from yeah. So Sam's wearing some more. So how the fuck do you get into like doing music promotion, bro? Talk to me. Like what, I mean, I've looked at it before. I had a cat that, just to give you some background as to why this podcast was interesting to me, right? At one point in my life, I looked into trying to be a promoter, and it seemed like such a vast, it's who you know kind of a thing. And that would be probably something to be either, validated or corrected, I guess, from your perspective. But I mean, becoming a promoter, man, like I feel like that's something where you really do have to know somebody, or is it work ethic? Like, how do you get into this business, bro?
Well, it actually started about 20 years ago. It started with a record label called Drive Through Records, and I'm sure you guys heard of it. And it worked its way up into different. It kind of started in high school a little bit with the backyard promoting, throwing shows, throwing parties.
Ripping CDs, I'm sure.
I've ripped CDs for bands. So yeah.
Yeah.
But it really started, if you want to talk about promoting alone, it really started from you want to throw a show, you have bands hitting you up saying, hey, I'm coming to town, do you know where I can play? Or it starts from you have a little bit of capital money and you buy some talent to come to your town and you throw a show. So it's one. So
you're saying buy the talent, like so there's a fee involved for bringing in, like As They Lay Dying or something like that. They would charge you a fee.
Well, no kidding. They don't play for free. That's for sure.
Okay, but you're the guy that they. I guess that's the question, because I wouldn't know, right? From a layman's perspective, you're the guy that pays them.
Yeah. So I'm the one that books the show, books the sound guy, books the venue, books the as a promoter or talent buyer. A lot of times titles have been crossed so many different times in this industry, but the correct is talent buyer and promoter. So because you're promoting the show.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So you would buy the talent, bring them to town if they're not hitting you up. So if they're not coming to you, you got to go to them. One of those two things has to happen in order for you. So good example in Albuquerque, you have Mike Steezy, you have Roman over at Launchpad, you have all these guys that are over there. You have Isaac, the jam spot, and there's a couple other ones that are out there. They either find talent that they want or the talent comes to them. Obviously, the Launchpad's been there forever. So they pretty much have a good constant flow of emails from booking agents like myself, Diamond Noise Agency.
I see.
Has a list of talent that they're out on tour and coming through the area saying, hey, Roman, this is Sam. I have the Anchor coming through town with tour package with support from XYZ band. Want to know if you're interested. He will either say yes or no, and it's Roman. He's pretty good about responding back, and so is Mike Steezy. But Steezy likes to just pass on everything. So dined you out because I just sent you one, Steezy, and you passed again. You're gonna stop getting my tour packages if you keep doing this. I have pigweed in transit coming to Albuquerque soon. So. But of course,
he's going to unhook you up, bro.
Yeah, I'm not going to send you. Well, it's a simple sales. That's all, at the end of the day. That's what it is. It's simple sales. I'm going to go where someone's going to buy my talent, so I can have them successfully go out on the road and perform in said city, so they can flourish as an artist and grow their fan base. In Albuquerque,
So and Albuquerque is huge on metal, and that's not true everywhere. Yeah. Can we agree on that? I mean, is there areas that like you can kind of sell XYZ product better than you could others?
So I have on my roster for Diamond Noise Agency, I have metalcore, hard rock or heavy rock. I I also have pop bands. I have 2 pop bands, Cannibal Kids and Animal Sun. You're going to hear a lot about Animal Sun this year. I mean, they're hitting millions of streams.
Interesting.
Their stuff is really awesome. But I can't sell Animal Sun in Albuquerque. Albuquerque is not a pop place. I can't do that.
I can agree with that.
In Los Angeles, in San Francisco, in Miami, in New York, in Chicago, and now Austin, Texas, yeah, they're perfect. They'll work perfect there, and their fan bases will. They'll be able to build good fan bases as long as the music's good. Whereas my metalcore and my metal bands are pretty much across the board in every city that across America for the most part. You have decent crowds of metalcore, hard rock, those kind of things. I will say LA is a little bit harder, and it's more rock and roll. That's about as far as rock.
Okay.
They kind of go. Metal is more out in the suburbs for the suburb kids, but in other words, downtown LA and Fullerton or something like that. Over at Skate Program. It's like a little floor venue. So think of like the Moonlight Lounge, kind of like that kind of setup.
Or like Sunshine Theater. Sunshine Theater's got that like.
Well, that's the Moonlight
floor,
Lounge.
Everybody's just standing. Okay, yeah.
That's Moonlight Lounge, and then you got then you got the theater part. So basically the waiting room out there where everyone's supposed to put their merchandise.
Got you.
Right. But yeah, so yeah, everywhere has its different pockets, and New York is a good one, another good one where metal not so much, but maybe on the outskirts of New York, and maybe obviously in upstate New York, they do a lot better. But
that's
New York
interesting, man.
Yeah, New York is more pop or punk. Punk is definitely the number one, I think, in the harder genre. So,
got you. So your perspective or your take on culture in cities has got to be, built around music quite a bit, and then I'm sure that kind of teaches you into, sales, of course, because that benefits your business. But do you find yourself researching like New York comparatively to Los Angeles to see what is going on? Like, how do you figure out what's hot there? I mean, is that just from seeing what other people are doing, or is that just from like fucking with it for as long as you have?
The one is it's because I've been in the game for 20 years. So,
got you. Sure.
But I would say to anyone who starts out, what you're going to do is you're going to go to that city. You're going to pick out the venues. You're going to look at the lineups. You're going to see who's going to the shows, maybe on Facebook events, stuff like that. You're going to put almost like putting yourself in that scene and asking questions. Of course, it really helps when you send your talent to that city and see what it does. And by the third time, you should know if you're building a good brand in that market or they're just not digging it. And if you're there,
sure, like the Anchor, right? Like, because they're really Colorado based. I mean, I'm sure that you guys play real strongly to that card, right? Like, you guys play around the Denver area, which is quite a bit.
Actually, no.
No?
I mean, maybe 1 or twice a year, and that's it. Because we don't want to oversaturate your market. You don't want to keep doing the same show for the same fans over and over again every month, every quarter, so every 3 months. So really, realistically, when you start out, you're trying to build that fan base, right? So you're probably playing every month as a band. And then once you get to a certain level, and I would say the 50 people on a constant basis are buying tickets from you to watch you perform, that's when you should back off. You should you should start spreading it out. And definitely you got to change your set. No one wants to see the same show over and over and over again.
Right. And
because we live in that kind of world where, it's like we have Netflix, but we don't watch the same show over and over again.
Right. There's a constant change of content, and that's kind of like the whole idea behind constantly creating content is that you always have something fresh in order to present to the masses, I guess. That's interesting though. So I guess so when you're doing something like this, you're drawing from a lot of previous experience.
Well,
what was your initial stick? Because I saw that you had like a record label in the past, right? Yep. I didn't get the.
So in 2016, I believe it was, I decided to launch Human Heart Records.
That's right.
I had this idea from working on the label side of the house and stuff like that. labels don't create. All they're doing is financing. All they're doing is marketing. So I wanted to create a label that was honest and help the artist, make sure not to make them broke or anything like that. If you go back and look at the podcast I produce, we talked to Jared Reddick from Bowling for Soup. He still hasn't gotten paid from those hit songs like 1985 and everything like that. It's been almost 20 years. So if that's
ridiculous.
Ridiculous? Yeah. No. It just goes to show you how much money they pump into a song or marketing behind a song or a band in general. And so he still hasn't paid it back. And or maybe they're just keeping the money and haven't told him. I don't know. I doubt that.
Like it's a shiesty contract deal or something, right? Like back in the day, some shitty percentages.
Because a lot of people don't realize, like, what stops a record label from keeping that money and lying to you and saying, oh, you still owe X amount of dollars? How do you know you paid? They're supposed to show you all that stuff, but they don't really do that. And most bands don't care. All they care about are the numbers growing, and when they go out on tour, are people coming to shows and are people buying merchandise? Because that's the way you make your money.
Yeah, and or if they can fucking eat, right? I mean, because that's got to be like because I remember, so Lindsay and the Anchor, right? They showed up in I think we were in Colorado Springs. And, they pulled up in their vehicle and, that was one of the questions I asked them in the podcast, like, how do you guys support yourselves? And it was essentially self-supported, but there was some help from not only you guys, but also like family and then like kind of like a support network with the fans, which I thought was huge. But,
the fans are the number one. The fans have always supported the Anchor. Their previous label, which they're not on anymore, that I will not name, they've never supported them. It's always been Lindsay and Corey have always funded, and then also from the fans buying merchandise and that profit. That's what's always funded the band.
That echoes what they said too, because I mean they basically said that they were DIY as they come, and that's huge because that goes to show you like the support in that market, and also just like across the board because she has some really. That's some inspiring music, you know what I mean? And then to be like a female-led metal band, to me it was, at the time even, this is still like earlier on in the Me Too movement, it was big for me in order to bring on a female-led metal band because it showed like the entrepreneurship and things like that you wouldn't necessarily talk about when you talk about a metal band and talk about a touring, business unit. Because like you said, this is essentially a product that you are partners in with, the Anchor and many other bands. And you guys have like an economy that lives around, this promotion. And like you said, like having the knowledge of the market is big, but I go back to my earlier question. Do you feel like, from your perspective, do you feel like your relationships and the rapport that you build with the vendors and the locations, the venues, I guess, do you feel like that plays strongly also into your guys' success? Because I'm sure that, like the Anchor, they would need you to be able to pull into a better, more established venue than a lesser known one, right? Does that make any sense?
Yes. No, it's 100%. You hit it right on the head. So, what makes a booking agent good? That's the question that you're kind of ask. What makes a good? And
sure.
I can tell you.
You shortened it well, Sam. Thank you.
Yeah. Don't worry. That's my job. So the what makes a booking agent good is his relationship with talent buyers and venue owners. In other words, he knows what venues have great sound, what venues have walk-in traffic. He knows what venues host certain genres of music that do very well and what other genres of music don't do very well. So, those kind of things like that. Because believe it or not, each venue kind of has their own shtick, has their own, where people know that there's going to be, if there's metal there, you're probably not having pop shows there. I can guarantee that.
Key. No, that I 100% agree with that. Just from my perspective, from going to a lot of smaller, theater type shows, which is the venues you talked about, like the Launchpad, Sunshine Theater, places like that. El Rey. I mean, these guys have a very specific set, and it seems like in Albuquerque in particular, they cater to like metal. Reggae is real big as well. You got some punk in there, but it has to lean more in the metal side, and then rap as well. But that is more selective. You know what I mean? Yeah. It seems like you've got to have a following because a lot of people are trying to do
rap, and it seems to be a super saturated market. Not to say that metal's not. I think metal is as well.
Yeah.
There's no very few albums go up to get like Billboard awards and shit like that, right? For metal. So, I mean, across the board, that makes sense. How does that feel to you from like a business perspective? Do you feel like, is it more risk taking to take on like a metalcore band or a metal band that might be more of a niche in terms of that piece of the pie that you could be making for a promoter? Do you feel like that's more of a risk than like the pop bands?
Well, let me go back and finish up on that last question as far as, what makes a good booking agent. So not only do they have to know all these things and have a great relationship with the people that buy your talent, but then they also have to have a great relationship and understanding with the talent itself, saying, hey, look, this is my job. This is how I make my money, my 10%, or maybe a retainer and 10%, because now I'm up to a retainer and 10%. Because thanks, COVID,
right.
Lost so much money. I got to keep this thing going. And I want to make sure that people, the bands are still interested. Otherwise, they're just sitting on your roster, just sitting there because they can't go anywhere. But I could be doing something else for them. And I'm a very multitask person. I'm more of a manager type agent. I just don't wait to decide, let's go to these markets and so on and so forth. So everything has to coexist with each other. And if you want a good agent, that agent has to have a great relationship with venue owners, because there's good ones, there's bad ones, there's great venues, there's bad venues.
There's assholes out all over the place, bro.
All over the place. So, and then to your other question, which was the piece of the pie kind of question. Yes, absolutely. You want a band to succeed very much, so you get more for them. You get more money for them. Their premium, their guarantees go up. However, though, if you're a good agent, you don't ask for more than what your artist is worth in that market. Otherwise,
that's interesting. Okay.
What's going to happen is you're going to ask for too much. The people don't show up to even cover that guarantee, and now you got a mad promoter or talent buyer because they're not performing. So realistically, I always say your talent, the guarantee for your talent should be half of what they can bring. So if they bring 20 people at $10 a head, that's $200, right? They should be asking for a guarantee of 100. But they got to also make sure that they bring 20 people. So you make the promoter who takes all the risk, the talent buyer promoter takes all the risk financially, also as well as insurance-wise. If something goes down, the band's probably not going to be held responsible, but the promoter and the venue owner.
I was going to say, I've never heard of a band insurance, bro. So there's got to be. I always wondered how that works. That makes
called
sense.
event insurance, and bands buy it too. But a good story behind that one is Heat Wave in Australia, Limp Bizkit. They decided to act like a-holes and fire up the crowd because they're having sound problems, and what ends up happening is that crowd ends up tearing shit apart. Well, guess who started that crap?
Limp Bizkit.
Fred Durst. He was the one. Instead of being cool and being the entertainer he was supposed to be and calm them down, he could have done something acoustic, or he could have juggled up on stage, or he could have went out into the crowd and just start talking. But instead, he's attacking the sound crew that are obviously having issues.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah,
man.
I've had that fair share too, and I'm not going to name them names. They're metal bands, big metal bands, and we were having some technical issues because the sound guy I hired that night did not check the power for the venue, that the makeshift venue. We had to use Shiloh Inn banquet hall because the city shut us down for various reasons with the company.
All right, that already sounds awful punk rock, Sam. I'm just saying, bro. Keep going.
All right. So,
shut us down, and then we moved to another venue, and we said, "Fuck them."
We already paid deposits. These kids were going to see a show. End of story.
Hell yeah.
And it was a great show, by the way. Born of Osiris, Crown the Empire. Fuck
yeah, bro.
Anyways, and I won't name the band that got up on stage, but. So obviously we kept blowing fuses, and I'm wondering why we're blowing fuses, because we're all plugged into the same wall even though we're plugged into this wall over here and then this wall over here, they're all on the same circuit. It was all on the same circuit. So I had to go call my tech guy to come in from work. I think he was doing karaoke night that night, and say, dude, his name is Dominic, greatest guy ever. Dominic, get your ass down here. I need help. Yeah, shout out to Dominic and Antonelli in Yuma, Arizona, HD Audio. But he came in, and he was the one that figured it out for me, so on and so forth. But in that meantime, that band was too busy causing a stir instead of being a great like team player. I mean, really. Yeah. However, though, it is what it is. They're grown men. I'm grown men. I'm supposed to make sure at the end of the day, when I was the promoter for that show, the talent buyer for that show, my job was to make sure that the power was on point and not the way it was. So instead, what I did is I entrusted the person I hired to make sure that it was. And he's no longer with us. He passed away a couple years ago. So, rest in peace for him.
Rest in peace, man.
I never had really any bad ill will, but guess what? Who didn't get their full amount of money that night?
Right.
I gave it to the band. I gave it to the band after we took our cuts and stuff like that. I gave it to the band so that way there's like a kiss ass moment saying, I'm sorry that the sound didn't work. Because it does ruin. They're there to entertain, and if their microphone keeps cutting out, it's going to piss them off. I get it. I truly get it.
So let me ask you this on the flip side of that. I totally understand that perspective there. On the flip side of that, have you ever had the talent itself actually become the issue? Like I'm gonna come from, and I'm sure that you have stories, but I'm gonna come from the only experience I know. Like I watched like the Lamb of God DVD, right? The Lamb of God DVD, there's a couple of them that they had. It was like following them. So lead singer, Randy gets so drunk he can't even remember
Randy.
the lyrics.
Randy's a great guy. He's straight edge.
Now but back back then
that's what it is. he's
right. He's probably still smoking them frajos, them cigarettes. So poor guy. But no, so Randy, amazing vocalist. Honestly, a founder of a lot of different sounds, and I think a lot of, like, for me, it was just like one of those pillars of what I would consider to be my metal background when I was growing up.
You just wait. He's got something new with Voodoo Glow Skulls, so just stand by.
Damn. Okay, Voodoo Glow Skulls.
You'll find out on my podcast, The Loud Spot with Sebastian.
Hey,
April. It's the week of 420, so it's that Friday. I can't remember off the top of my head. I think that's 424.
I got the computer here.
I think that's 424.
That's a Saturday. What day is it?
Friday. So 423. It's on a Friday.
Yeah.
On a Friday.
All right.
We're actually recording it on 420, but you'll hear about it, and it'll go live, pre-recorded live on Facebook, as we always do. So
on 423.
Anyway.
Awesome. So back to, it's my bad. We'll come back to the Loud Spot because we also got to promote. We didn't say anything about that. So, but coming back to, so in this DVD, Randy gets super drunk and he basically cannot perform at the level that we would expect from a pioneering metal vocalist, right? So in your experience, have you ever had talent that has been the fuckery, the problem, right? That you ended up having to, like, what the fuck, bro? Tell me, you got any stories, bro? I'm curious.
I do have stories. I will not name them for the sake of, because they don't do that anymore. They've
grown up.
They've grown up. Actually, I can give you one, but they've always performed. They were just okay. So there was a band called 360 Smile out of St. Louis when I was living near St. Louis, and great band. I mean, unfortunately, the lead singer passed away because of cocaine use. I think it was pretty sad because they were on their up and up, but they loved to get hammered. They loved to live that rock and roll lifestyle.
Right.
Unfortunately, now, like I said, they've always performed. They never had a problem performing. It was their behavior backstage, behavior before the show or after the show,
when they clock out.
What ends up happening is, then I get a phone call, hey, your band is acting like an ass. I don't ever want them back again. Well, guess what? We just had a great show. we perform to a good group of people to build our market, and now you just ruined it because you act like an ass. So the person that owns the house don't want you back in their house anymore. So why would you do that if you're trying to be a professional musician and making money? The days of Motley Crew acting like an ass are over. You need to be smart. You can still party. Just moderation, my friend. And don't act like an ass.
But then beyond that, you got to have the Motley Crue success in order to act like Motley Crue, in my opinion. Like you can't just tear ass and then expect there not to be consequences when you're not. Yeah. You don't have the ability to pay the high-powered lawyers and or handle that blowback, because those guys were untouchable because they had ridiculous amounts of money coming in the door. I mean, and that honestly had to be the only thing that would cushion these guys. I mean, how else do you get away with the stuff that they did besides dying?
Yeah, because they had handlers that, you're right, they were getting paid very well. The band wasn't getting paid very well, but the handlers, and I'll tell you that because I actually talked with Vince Neil one time out in front of the Arch. I was one of my many jobs that I've had in the world, but I was a park ranger at the Arch, and he came in, and then I kind of watched him to make sure he didn't get surrounded, harassed, and because I was the guy, they knew that, oh, Sam's been working in the music, so he knows how to handle these kind of people. And when he walked through, I looked up, I was like, oh, what's up, Vince? And he's like, hey, what's up, man? So my coworkers thought we worked together, and so when he went through the scanner and stuff, I was like, no, it's just Vince Neil from Motley Crue, man.
Right. Let him through, man. Let him through.
Do you guys not know who he is? No, he has to empty his pockets like everyone else and put it through the scanner. He don't get any special treatment. No one gets any special. You can call ahead. There are special for those big A-listers like Billie Eilish or Madonna or something like that. Yeah, or Beyonce. Sure. But but anyways, he told me some stories, and great guy, by the way. Lived a life that a lot of us would dream. The only thing is there was also a lot of bad stuff that came along with success, as it always is. But so back to your question, yes, a band. Here's one of my gifting knowledge. I always tell every band: stay humble, shut your mouth, get in the band. Then you can talk all the shit you want to. If you have an issue with the venue owner, the sound guy, you can handle, but do it in a tactful manner because he controls how you sound that night. And they know that. All bands know that. But if you have a problem with the venue owner, say they skip out, say they don't pay, call me. That's my job. I will get it for you. Don't get all crazy. Start tearing the place up.
Don't go breaking your guitars and shit.
Yeah. Well, first of all, don't break your guitars because those are your guitars. But don't break anything in the venue or anything. Just get in the van, go back to your hotel, or go down the road to the next venue or the next city. I will handle it. I will get you your money some way, shape, or form. But if I can't get that money, because most of it, let's face it, most guarantees are so low with these bands. They're not very much, 150, 250, $500. They're not very much. Interesting. Yeah. You think that it's thousands of dollars. No. Music is the only thing where you spend thousands of dollars in equipment and travel and get paid $50 to $150 per show.
Man, that's a heavy price, man. That shows you the passion that goes behind.
It is. It's you can't ask a carpenter to do that. To spend thousands of dollars in tools, and they do spend thousands, and then do a job and only take like $50. But
that would
keep
not
this
happen.
in mind. Keep this in mind. The performance itself is not as strenuous as building a subfloor or something like that. So I can see the difference. But so anyways, it would take more for a lawyer to get involved. Those kind of things. Anything over 500, I'm probably going to have a contract with. Also, on top of that, I always say this to all venue talent buyers. You screw me once, I ain't coming back for the second time. I'm not sending you any more packages. That's simple. Every city has usually 2 or 3 people that will buy that. So, and if you've played that...
And then to come from that perspective shows that you're a professional, because then you're showing that you have honest boundaries when it comes to what's going on. Like, don't fuck around with me, bro. If you don't want to pay me, then you're not having these guys come back. And they're making money in other places. So that's on you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and and I've had shows fall through. Promoters canceled the day before. Annoying as hell. You don't understand. We've spent money in marketing on Facebook and Google ads. We've printed up, we've made nice little marketing ads. Maybe not the old school handing out flyers anymore because those days are gone. But this band spend a lot of time and effort and money into promoting their show. But you decided that because there was no pre-sale tickets being sold, you're just going to cancel the show. But that's at the time of negotiation, you promoter, you talent buyer needs to make that decision. Don't make it the day before. But it happens all the time. But those are usually the little tiny guys, the guys that should know better. The bigger guys, they will just pass on it. If it's something that's not going to make them money or something they're not interested, they'll pass it. So, as we're messing around and I'm making fun of Mike Steezy, he knows what he wants. He knows what he wants to sell. He knows what he wants to promote. Same thing. Roman from Launchpad, he knows what he wants. He knows what he wants to sell.
He knows what sells, right? Which is kind of the key because he knows what's happening
and
right now.
They're two different promoters. Roman has the kind of the backing of Launchpad, whereas Steezy is kind of, he has to secure the venue. So he doesn't really have a venue underneath him, and then you got Isaac, who has a venue, and he's kind of like Roman. He can take more risk than Steezy can. So
right, because it's his spot. I got you. Because it's Joe Anderson, right, that owns the Launchpad, and I think he owns Sunshine, and so those guys are a little bit under the. I'm sure, like, you need to make money for me. You're not fucking around and taking risks.
Well, they make it at liquor sales a lot of times. So that's how that night will pay for the staff and the overhead. But you would still like to profit from the artist coming in as well. So
so I had an experience, and this is I feel like it's applicable, but not quite, because it never was on any kind of level that you've ever been on. But there was a spot where we had a studio. It was like 20 different rooms. I think maybe let's count it down to like 10. And it was called Bleeding Eardrum in Albuquerque. I'm sure there's some folks that are listening that had played there or had a spot. But you would rent a studio per month, and this guy paid me or charged us an ungodly amount. We stored our gear in there. Well, the only place that we could play at, because my youngest guy was like 15, the drummer, and then I was 18 renting the spot, we couldn't play anywhere that sold alcohol. So we were useless, and you could confirm if I'm wrong to a guy like you, because it was like, well, fuck, that just narrowed it down right there, because very few cities, I'm sure, have a 13 and older kind of a spot. Albuquerque does, and at the time there was a spot called The Compound. Shout out to The Compound. But I remember doing a show and showing up, and we'd promoted it, we thought, through MySpace and a couple other spots. I was in a metal band, right? I was a vocalist.
Now, was that Rhett spot? Was that Rhett spot? Man. I think so. Now it's called the Jam Spot. That's the one that Isaac owns.
I think so. It's across from the Peter Piper's.
Yeah. So I think Rhett from Right On Kids manager, aka their dad, he used to own it. The Compound. Okay.
So the Compound was very cool that they brought on, some low level, because we had almost no exposure. This is, again, the MySpace era. And, for people listening, again, you didn't have streaming services. If you didn't have a CD, then you weren't shit. And most of the time you were either burning it or maybe you were on something where you could download it. But it was really just a matter of coming to the fucking show. That's where anybody made money. So we didn't realize we were supposed to make a poster for ourselves, which was really the only thing that we needed. So we showed up and we're like, here we go. And they didn't serve alcohol. So unlike other places where we would just show up and wait till literally the spot when we were to load up on stage, they would make us wait outside. And then the moment we'd go, so any place with alcohol would do that. Well, the Compound didn't serve alcohol. So they were like, okay, come in. We get to hang out in the back, and like push around like the 4 people that came to see us. Anyways, long story short, it very quickly showed me, like, I understood that, like, I was supposed to be essentially helping a promoter make money. And I didn't do that. And then the band didn't work out. I was paying money out of my own pocket to rent this fucking studio that we practice out of. Yada, yada. A million bands have gone this way. But it was funny because that was really my only insight besides, like talent shows and dumb shit where I would go and do like freebie stuff with the band. And it made me really like understand, because I've gone to hundreds of shows otherwise at the Launchpad, at Sunshine, at tons of big venues, small venues. And you start to understand that there's a lot of people that need to get paid. I guess where I would love to take the conversation next, just purely in the parlance of our times, is like COVID, right? So when it comes to these things and all of these skills that you have, what are some of the bigger challenges you had with COVID? Because I would think, from my perspective, that I haven't seen that there's any concerts being promoted, but how are you finding a way to kind of make it in this era? And then what's in the future? Like, do you see shows coming back up? What do you know that I don't know? That we don't know, bro.
So, one of the biggest there's two things. There's a good side to COVID and there's a bad side to COVID. Obviously, we'll start with the bad side. Bad, it's a bad flu bug, affected a lot of people, very contagious. I even caught it in Oklahoma City. So
no shit. Okay.
Yeah, but only I was only down for a couple days, like 2 days, and just symptoms. But I was still functioning.
You're here.
So I didn't. Yeah, I didn't. Huh?
You're here. You're fucking here.
Yeah. So I'm not going to downplay COVID by no means. It's for some people it attacks their body a lot different and a lot worse. The good thing was bands were able to take a look at their bread and butter, the touring and the merchandising, and go, shit, we can't do any of those. You can still sell merchandise online, but people don't really feel compelled to buy it. So, sure.
Like you do when you go to a show and you're like, fuck yeah, Anchor, and you're like, screaming your head off, and then you're like, bro, what do I got to do to help you out? Like I totally get that. Okay.
Buy a t-shirt. that
right.
Definitely helps out. Right. So all of the bands that I represent or that are on the roster, and I say this because the reason why I say I represent, because I do represent them, just no different than I'm in partnership with them. I do not own them. They create their own stuff. We are in partnership. My job is to build markets for them and help them in their career. So in any way possible. Some agents are a lot different. Not me. I'm going to do whatever it takes. Find playlists on Spotify for you to be on. Talk to this guy and do this for you and stuff like that. That's why.
That's interesting.
Now I ask for a retainer because I'm like, wait, I'm doing way more than I should be doing. But the bigger the band gets, the more money I can make. So that's the reason why I do it. So for me, I lost my bread and butter, my 10% of those bands that are out there touring. So it slowed down. I had to take a look inside and go, okay. Now the first year I'm like, oh, springtime. It's no problem. It's coming back. And we had some great tours lined up. Steak Sauce was on with Oakley Dokley, that Ned Flanders band.
Yeah, man. Those guys are badass.
that was a great tour for them. I was going to get a decent 10% per show. The Anchor, we had stuff lined up actually in your neck of the woods to come down there and tour with Notions.
Oh,
we were
man.
Take Notions out from Austin or San Antonio. I forget where they're from. So we had a lot of things lined up, and a lot of bands had a lot of things on it, but it shut it down. However, though, I had to take a look. I can't speak for them. I try to, all I can do is give them suggestions, and they got to decide what they're going to do, what kind of content they're going to create, how are they going to do this, because it was so different than what they were used to. So
in the past, right? Yeah.
So me, however, I had to stop and go, okay, what happens? And this was after now me expecting springtime to open back up. It shut back down again. I mean, opened up just for a little bit in certain markets, right, and then it shut back. So I had to take a look and said, okay, what are you going to do if you can't ever book a show or a tour outside of just like maybe one or two states?
Right, places that are, and I'm guessing that like the more conservative spots, right? Like places that are just more lenient with the government restrictions.
Yeah, Texas, Louisiana, Alabama, Florida, basically the more conservative, the more redder the state, probably the more likely. And don't get me wrong, there's still shows that are happening all over, even your state. They're just not talking about it because they don't want the backlash, the cancel culture.
I love it.
People are still throwing house shows and stuff like that, and we can go into who's right, who's wrong. Me, I'm going to stand firm on do whatever you got to do to survive, because that's And if you're the person attending these shows, you put yourself at risk. So, it's no different than if you go into the mosh pit. Sorry, buddy.
That's interesting. No, that's true. You might catch an elbow.
Like I said, there will be people that will disagree with that, and that's okay. You're entitled to disagree and say that super spreaders and the industry will never return back to its normal way. Whatever. Like I said, if I'm creating stuff and I'm spending money and creating stuff, I'm going to do what I need to do to take care of me and my livelihood. So and I got to stand firm on that in my head because that's who I am. I'm not going to lie about it and try to play politics of.
Well, there's so many. I mean, and there's so many directions you can go with it. Like, there's so many points of perspective, and I think if you don't respect the different points of perspective, there's a lot of things that you're going to miss in terms of, like, the guy like you that's really trying to pull up and just continue to make money for yourself and your family.
Yeah. Now, I will tell you, I have not booked a tour. I will not book a tour until the band is ready to go out and until basically, for the most part, 75% of the United States is pretty much, over 50 capacity and open.
Right.
Because I don't want the band to get the backlash, and I never force a band to tour. They can say yes or they can say no.
Yeah.
So, and I don't want to get necessarily the backlash. So, it's always been that talk right now that we will not, if the band doesn't feel, the Anchor is a good example. They will not go out and tour until the all clear is given by our governments or the powers that be.
CDC.
And it gave them time to sit back and relax and reevaluate a whole bunch of things, like a new album coming out. And there is a new album coming out, so you guys will be excited. I still haven't heard it, so so back to me, because this podcast is about me.
It's it's about Sam, goddammit.
I had to take a look at myself and go, okay, you are so talented. You have this marketing brain. You know how this industry works. What can you do? And I fell into podcasting. And I came across a gentleman Sebastian, who was interviewing one of my artists. I ended up reaching out to him to do an interview for one of my artists, Jack's Diaries, who was releasing one of their singles, came down to say hi.
I love their shit, bro.
Yeah, featuring Dee Dee from Laguna Coil. And so, I'm doing PR, basically. I'm trying to find any little thing that could get that name out and get that song heard. Because that's all that it is. Everyone's doing the same thing. It's just the people that throw it in front of your face and you actually look at it are the ones that are going to succeed.
The squeakiest wheel gets the lube. You know what I mean? I totally get that, bro.
Right. So anyways, needless to say, I'll fast forward. I like his energy. And when you manage talent, you manage talent. Whether you're a booking agent or a manager, talent is talent. So whether they're a singer, whether they're a painter, whether they're a trombone player, or a musician, we'll just call them musician, or anything like that. So when you see something and you see the potential, your brain starts, now me, from the marketing standpoint and the business standpoint, I go, yeah, I could help him out. His quality of his show, I could improve the quality of his show. I can produce his show for him.
So in respect to that's what led you to be the producer on the Loud Spot, right? Okay.
Now, however, it was supposed to be like this. So remember I told you I caught COVID. I came to visit Oklahoma City. We went out, had drinks. And if you ever want to do business, have drinks with someone, you can easily lower the inhibitions and get what you need. We both ended up catching COVID, not realizing we both ended up catching COVID because I went home that week. Yeah, he was sick and I was sick too, and his wife was sick. So obviously, but they thought I gave it to him. I said, if I gave it to you, you would be sick after a day or two after I was sick.
Yeah, we're sick at the same time.
All were sick at the same time. That means we went out to a restaurant and probably touched the door handle, touched our face. Who knows?
Yeah,
maybe someone. So anyways, I was supposed to be just the executive producer. Basically, I was going to stamp my name, Diamond Noise Agency, those kind of things, stamp it, make recommendations, those kind of things. Instead, what ended up happening is we started to have a chemistry back and forth online when I popped into a show, and he loved that. he finally felt like he found someone that has chemistry with.
Yeah.
And because I know when to add my 2 cents, I know when to shut up. I also know when to add my colorful commentary, those kind of things. So
well, and you're a worker, bro, and that's the hardest thing about a co-host, in my opinion. This is why I've never done a co-host. I did it like kind of initially when I started podcasting. It's a bitch to find somebody else that's like a worker, because a podcast is not. You and I are not making $1 million. Or how much does Joe Rogan make? No. The fucker, he makes something crazy like 100,000, $1 million an episode. We're not those people. So, to come in here and do this, like, a lot of people fall off, and like I've been doing it for 3 years, and it's hard to explain to somebody that eventually it comes down to like a passion thing, and that passion thing in only so many cases becomes a moneymaker. So I totally am with you when it comes to like, to put in that time. It's very important to you that you're able to do that. So to find the chemistry and to find somebody that you feel comfortable enough to do this with, to throw all in with. So it's called The Loud Spot, right?
Yeah, it's called The Loud Spot with Sebastian. You can find it all over the place. It's if you want to listen to the audio version, you can find it on the platform you listen to podcast on, or you can go to www.theloudspot.net. I have a nice little player right there. All you do is click play, and that's the audio version. Of course, we're on YouTube. We do videos now. I was the one that introduced the videos because, people are aesthetic. They want to see. The only problem is when you do the videos, you probably cut half of your crowd that used to go listen to the audio.
I'm right there with you. Yeah.
But you can monetize and well, we're probably not going to get too much monetized because we play videos. We play the artist videos with them there. Of course, wonderful YouTube and Facebook, they like to do copyright claims, and it's like, fuck it, who cares? You know what? Yeah. It's not going to be monetized, or if it does get monetized, that money will go to that artist. Not a problem. We're not worried about that.
But you also have a stake in those artists, most likely. So it's not like, we
want to expose people to new artists that they probably never heard of. Yeah, we pretty much have metal, metalcore, hardcore, punk. Last night, which was Wednesday, we had a rock and roll band. So if you can think of Joan Jett or Lindsay Hell, that was Soraya. She is awesome. She has a great voice. And they're charting on Billboard right now and stuff like that. And of course, we dip back to the old school guys. Like I said, our 100th episode, we did the Chris Rowe from the Ataris, and we did Jarrett Reddick from Bowling for Soup. These are two names that probably get ignored and forgotten about because they don't have a big label pushing them.
Even currently, they're not as hot as others. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying to you. And a lot of people don't realize that. Remember, I told you, when you make music, you have a money-powered machine called a record label or a someone who's investing. If you're pushing money into it, it'll go far, it'll expand, it'll reach people a lot better, it'll be heard on the radio, all these kind of things. So when you scale it back and you don't spend that much money anymore because you're trying to make money,
right?
Make more money. And Jared, they're still releasing music. The Bowling for Stoop's still releasing music. They're still touring. They're right out of Dallas, Texas. Well, north of Dallas, Texas. If our age group, the 40s, the 35s, 40s, 45s,
right.
If you listen to that band growing up, you should go back and listen to that band and support the new stuff. However, though, because you got radio just blasting out new stuff constantly, you're going to forget them a little bit per se. So
that's a deeper subject, bro. You just kind of broached a deeper subject. Do you feel like there's so trending wise in music? So you're an old head in terms of the industry. Do you feel like it's?
I'm a new head too, though. I'm listening to stuff that you never even heard of before.
No, I could believe that, but I guess in terms of from your perspective, when it comes to radio music, which is held by a select group of maybe 4 or 5 big radio conglomerates, right? You got like your Clear channels. You got these guys.
Clear Channel, iHeartMedia.
Right. So these guys are the ones that are they're in control of this music distribution. That I would say the majority of people are. They're getting their radio that way because MTV's not doing what they used to do. So really, the only place where I think that modern, it never really
It did it for like a couple of years and then it quit. Let's put a pregnant teenage girl on.
Oh man, I don't get it with MTV. I don't. Even like VH1 is
money.
still like
It's money. It's
Sure.
money.
Sure, but
Why
okay,
is the Kardashians famous?
because how dare you? Because they have a good tanner and fucking underwear up their ass. Something, bro. I've never understood it.
No, it's because we love the hot mess as human beings. We love the drama because it's something that is not happening in our lives. So, why do we make stupid people famous? Okay, here's a good example. Why, and you're guilty of it. You're guilty of it. Why your boy says, "Hey, Morgan, I got a show Friday night. Can you come out and watch my show?" No. Instead, you and the wife go, or you and whoever go to the movie theaters and watch something.
Oh no, that's what? You nailed it on the head. I've done it. I'm guilty as fuck, bro.
I'm guilty of it too. Now I'm even worse because I don't want to go in general because I don't want to be around people. I don't want to be around that experience because I'm always around it and I'm annoyed by people. And it's like I'm the backstage. I like to hang out backstage. I don't like to hang out in the front stage.
Right. You're the guy with the cool badges on your belt. You're the guy with the badges on the belt, bro. That was always the guy I wanted to be when I'd go to shows. There's always that cat. You could like walk through all the security and they just look at the badge. They're like, "All right, bro, go ahead." That's Sam, bro.
Yeah. So no, my biggest thing is I get annoyed by drunken fools, people that aren't there to even enjoy the show. They're just there to drink or something like that. And I love to drink. Okay, I love to have a drink. Maybe not as much as I used to back in the day, because I am a truck driver, so I can't drink as much.
Yeah, and so if you guys didn't catch that, Sam is coming to us from a truck. Like this is legitimate.
In the middle of the desert in Winnemucca, Nevada, on my way to Reno.
So speak to me. I guess I don't know how that fits into this. So truck driving is just a way to make money in the interim while you promote?
All right, so about 5 years ago, some friends of mine in the Marine Corps League, another one of many jobs. I was in the Marine Corps for 8 years.
Thank you
to Iraq. So friends of mine were in the Marine Corps League, and they approached me and said, "Hey, we're starting a truck driving school." I just left a nonprofit organization where we use VA money to put homeless veterans in housing, and I realized what a sham that is, by the way. And it's not the VA's fault. It's not the VA's fault. It's the nonprofit game that you have to play, and you're not really helping people because the problem is not being identified: drugs, alcohol, and mental disabilities. That's what makes a homeless veteran probably most likely homeless, is they're dealing with those things, and because they can't fix those things, everything else just kind of falls apart.
Sure.
But the guy that lost his job 3 months ago and is behind on his mortgage payment, we can't help him because he has a mortgage and not rent.
Right.
What the Now, I'm pretty sure it's changed by now. But that was the outlines that the VA has established in order, and we have.
Well, and those are particularly falling on political lines, which is, I mean, that is a bigger problem across the board, especially with the fucking VA, bro. God, it's a messy place.
So, and we won't go into this thing. I was working at that time. I think I was delivering pizza and bartending or something along those lines. Because I always go back to those: deliver pizza or bartend. Quick money. Yeah. There's no benefits.
And as much as you say you're not, bro, you're a people person. I mean, you may have not heard it, but you're good at that shit. That's what those.
No, I am a people person. I just don't like to be around drunk, annoying trailer trash, those kind of things. Those things, and you won't even know because I will disappear. I will hide in the corner and just kind of push my way out of that situation.
Like Sam was here. No, he was here, wasn't he?
Yeah. Now I'm watching from the balcony that you didn't even know exists up there. Talked to the venue owner and said, "Hey."
So I used to. Well, I was going to say I used to do traffic direction for a concert venue for the Isleta, or now it's the Journal Pavilion, whatever it is, the big venue there in Albuquerque. And I used to do the guy releasing the traffic to go home. And I did not enjoy any of the drunk going home fucking concert crowd. And I was underage.
No one enjoys drunk people.
Unless
my worst drunk people is the college bro.
Right.
The college bro is probably the worst one for me.
With the big truck.
The bro. Hey, you gonna drink that shot, bro?
Yeah.
Pussy. All that, oh my God. It's like, why are you worried about my intoxication level? You gonna pay for my DUI? You gonna be at my funeral when I fucking kill people or die? So, all right, let's talk. So, truck driving. So basically what ended up happening is, they ran a truck driving school. I ended up signing up. I milked it for what it was worth because you get paid by the VA and I had some leftover post 9/11 because I went to Iraq. I didn't know that. So
I didn't know that you went to Iraq, bro. Damn.
I said that 8 years and I went to Iraq. So.
Oh, I didn't. My bad. Okay, I got the Marine part. I'm sorry. Well, and I figured as much, but I didn't want to that's badass. Thank you again. I fucking for real, bro. I don't want to minimize that at all.
Yeah. So I ended up after I came back from Iraq, I was at the end of my contract anyways. I ended up deciding I'm going to raise my family. I'm not going to stay in. So I would, and a lot of people do you wish you would have stayed in? There's parts of it I wish I would have stayed in. Like the camaraderie, the Marines underneath me. Right. But at the end of the day, I had a family to take care of, and they hadn't seen me for over a year. So in my mind, that was it. I'm going to stay.
That's a precedence. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what ended up happening is I ended up milking it, and then one day they were getting accredited by the government, and they're like, "Hey, you need to hurry it up and get your." I think it was 6 months. You need to get your permit, man. You're supposed to get your permit. So I got rushed through, and then by by September, 2015, I ended up graduating, and then I sat there and looked at the CDL, and I'm like, well, shit, let's put it to use. And so I ended up the company I currently back working for again, Warner Enterprises. I went to this training, Warner Enterprises. It's a big, the top three, within the top three. Got trained, everything like that, started truck driving. Realized I forgot how much I loved the road. And it was a love-hate relationship. I miss my family.
Right. I can imagine, man. That's gotta be hard.
It's a love-hate relationship. And then, but I still was booking bands. I still was managing bands, those kind of things. And I realized I can be at that city. I just have to take the time off. I just have to schedule it.
Right.
That's it. So, good example. Next week, I'll be in New Orleans with Transit, and we're filming a music video. I just want to make sure that goes over smooth, and also talk to the guys and make sure that we're still on par and be able to show my face to the people I represent.
Yeah, you're not a guy on the Zoom calls all the time, because I'm sure in the era of COVID that gets irritating. Yeah.
Yeah, and because I've tried that, LA, having a shop or sharing a space, office space in downtown LA. It doesn't work. All you're doing is wasting money.
Right.
We live in a very technical, advanced society where we could do this from anywhere.
Right.
I'm doing it from literally a truck, not a joke, a truck.
That's legit.
Now, Now, granted, I added some little strip lighting. I put up some of these hoodies. Good example. There's scene right there. Starving Artists Die Hungry. We got our Loud Spot one right there. We got AT Metal Podcast over here. My boys in AT Metal Podcast. I got the anchor and the bear tooth. Yeah. And I have just Velcro. It's Velcro stickies in the back, so they don't really go anywhere.
Right.
And it's the light. So in other words, when I have to break down shop and move out of the truck to another truck because I ran it up with too many miles, it's not a big problem. So and you'll see more decorations. If you guys watch the Loud Spot, you'll see more.
Yeah, and that's awesome that you do that from your fucking truck, bro. I thought I was cool, going to the place. I drove to go see the anchor.
Why are you making fun of my Shure microphone?
I love it, bro.
my MVK7.
Yeah.
So,
that's the business, bro.
And the reason why is because I was using headphones, and I don't know where they're at right now. I was using headphones, and I just didn't like the underwater sound at all.
Yeah. And you sound gorgeous. You know what I mean? No. You sound gorgeous, darling. Gorgeous. Well, that. Dude, So when it comes to COVID and shit like that, that's where you're at now. But like, what is the future? Do you see things opening up? Are you guys planning?
Yes.
You said you haven't scheduled anything yet, but so I had seen.
Right now I am. I have 2 tours for 2 legs, I should say, for Transit and a band called Pigweed out of San Antonio, Transit, for a Texas run. I won't say when they are for the simple sake of we're still, booking those, and I don't want any shit on those bands or anything like that. But, bands like Trapped and Flaw, and they've been booking all COVID long to where they can,
really,
and play where they can.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. Like, what kind of a COVID restriction are you trying to put up now? Because I've seen cats do like drive-in shit. I've seen guys do with the bubbles, right? Like they make like a.
I'm trying to do 100. I'm trying to make sure it's 100 capacity.
Okay.
You can have the 6 foot distance if you want to do it. I don't regulate that. I'd still like to see masks still being worn, obviously, until we're all vaccinated, or at least 70% of America is vaccinated, so we can have that. What is that called? That herd mentality or something like that.
Yeah. Herd immunity, I guess, right?
Herd immunity. That's what it's called. Because if 70% are vaccinated, the rest of us that probably aren't going to get vaccinated, and me, I'm not probably going to get vaccinated because I just don't have the time to stop in for my scheduled 2 shots. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
like, can you
that's
drop
probably
it
why
in?
I won't. I have nothing. So I'm just letting people know I have no problem against people that vaccinate or. I just don't have the time to go get it.
Yeah. Per
se, because I'm always on the road trucking, and it's even worse now because literally I live on the road now.
Yeah.
So,
no, that's how you make your living, bro. That's awesome. I work in IT, so like a lot of my job can be done from home, but I've still been working in person for most of the time. So it's been I've gotten vaccinated. I happen to work in medical. But it's been an interesting perspective to see people shut down that have had to work from home, and then people that additionally are essentially doing what you're doing, but now they're doing it maybe not voluntarily per se, right? Like they're having to find weird ass ways to work, So have you seen an uptick in bands that are trying to come up with creative stuff, like maybe like live shows, stream online and shit like that, with like ticket sales to that?
A band that I love to death, and please make sure you tag them when you post this.
For sure.
A band. Oh shit! Now I forgot their names. The Happy Fits they're out of the New York, New Jersey area.
Okay.
They
Happy
have
Fits.
one of the Happy Fits. They're a pop band.
All right.
They're a pop band with a cello bass and everything.
No shit. Okay.
Yeah, they're awesome. They're really awesome, young guys, and I'm sure they got great management. And that's why they don't respond back to my email. But
get my boy Sam up.
I love their live streams, and they go like every Wednesday or Friday or something like that. I usually catch the replay, obviously, but they're so great, and they have good. They're a 3-piece.
Okay.
They have a great relationship. I love all their music is pretty much upbeat pop music, So those are the kind of things. Is like they took the fucking time to decorate their apartment in New York City or wherever they're. I know it's a high rise. I can tell you that. They took the time to decorate. They're using StreamYard or
something similar.
Something very high quality. To stream through. They have great audio, all those kind of things, and that's what I like to see. Where I have also saw the exact opposite of people who try to get in the game, and we'll do. You know what? I'll throw Sebastian underneath the bus for this one. When he started, he started with a laptop and a video that was pointing at the laptop and him interviewing the laptop because they were on the other side using Zoom. Oh yeah. It wasn't the greatest, and it wasn't very user-friendly, but I'll give him an E for effort, He was trying. He was doing something, and Sebastian, his story is that, COVID screwed the oil industry a little bit for him as far as mineral rights. He does mineral rights, and so he had to get creative, and he ended up basically using this as an outlet to talk to somebody.
Wow.
As a way to express himself. At the same time, also get back into music. He's a He's a former drummer when he was in high school and a young adult with bands and various bands. None of them successful. Yeah, that's right. That's what I'm saying to you, Sebastian. None of your bands were successful. They were horrible. They were horrible. Matter of fact, the band you have now, Birdman, Oscar and Birdman, still very bad. I'm just kidding. That's the banter that's the banter you'll hear back and forth between Sebastian and I. But yeah, so, but then I came along and introduced some new things. He agreed to them, and that's where we're at now. So we're using StreamYard. I got a Shure microphone. I don't remember what microphone, but his audio's good. Our lighting's great.
Yeah.
Our backdrop is decent. It's real. Like he's got misfit.
I have a nice comfortable bed here, bro. I want you to feel homely. I want you to feel like you're in. There's no fucking picture. We just remodeled
but you also got a light. You also got a light that when you move your head blinds the shit out of me.
I'm sorry. Hold on. You should have told me. Fuck. Look at all these.
Who am I to tell you how to run your podcast? Sam, I'm not your producer.
But you are a fucking producer. I'll take your credit. Hold on. I'm going to fix it right now.
So anyways, while he's fixing that, you guys can check out the Loudspot at www.theloudspot.net. And don't forget, you can also take a look at any of my artists at www.diamondnoiseagency.com. And if you're a band listening to this and you're wondering if you need representation and you feel you're ready for that next step, don't hesitate to reach out to me. If it's not for me, I will give you that first introduction into I'll take a look, and then I'll probably never respond back to you because I don't want to be a dream killer and hurt your feelings and have to constantly ask, well, why don't you like my band? That's not for you to ask me. That's for me to answer myself. I don't have to answer.
Right.
It's called money, baby.
Right. I mean,
I do get a lot of bands, and I used to always just honestly answer them. And then what I realize is, what's that saying? And this is probably going to piss some people off, which is fine. I'm not worried about that. But never argue with stupid people.
Right. or like Dr. Dre, bro. Like Dr. Dre just wouldn't listen to people's shit. I mean, like he was just like, no, I'm not going to listen to your shit because I know that, it's probably not good. I should have heard it already, essentially. But if you do end up getting across,
if you're doing something, I will find you. I promise you, I will find you.
But otherwise, they could reach out to you at sam@diamondnoiseagency.com. Does that sound right?
Or, just find me online. Find me on you can DM me, add me as a friend. Matter of fact, I get probably 20 friend requests each day. Just do me a favor. Fucking ask the question. Don't add me as a friend and then never talk to me because that's annoying. Because right now, what I do, when you add me as a friend, and I'll give you about an hour, then I'll click the little wave button. And then I'll wait about an hour. And then I'll say, do you have a question to ask me or want me to take a look at something? And hopefully I'm giving you the avenue to show me what you got. Because I already looked at your page. I went and trolled your page real quick, or your profile. I looked at your band that you probably represent or what organization or what you're doing in the industry in general. Because I get a lot of fake come watch my fans only. Yeah, so I don't accept those ones. So if you're in a band, just talk to me. That's how networking happens. If it's good, we'll start a conversation. I promise you that.
Right, or it'll speak for itself because that's what the music does. Just like a podcast, the content speaks for itself. I mean, and if it doesn't, then you shouldn't be podcasting or making whatever music you think is going to sell.
Yeah. Now let's be realistic. Podcasting is a lot more easier and less money involved than making music. Music takes a lot involved in making music. Recording, unless you're doing it all by yourself. You froze up. So.
Well, I actually can't see you, bro. So I'm getting the same. What the fuck do we do? Do we click go? Fucking.
Can you hear me at least though?
I can hear you clear, bro. Can you hear me?
Oh, okay.
All you kids in podcast land, yeah.
Yeah, I'm crystal clear on my side, but again, it's one of those things where, who cares? But yeah. So if you're in a band and you don't know if you when should some guy like me step in? It could happen from the beginning if I see the diamond in the rough, if I hear the music, it sounds like it's going to be something new that's going to be innovative. It's going to push the needle of the music. And that's what I am looking for. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes I'll find an old school band, like some old, like Pigweed, for example. Classic, Slipknot-ish, new metal band. But
I think you told me about Pigweed, bro, when they were earlier on. So these guys are our current roster on your radar.
I have not picked them up. I just wanted to let you know I have not picked them up. I'm still in the process because there's a process that I do. I want to see you perform. I want to see how serious you are, because there's nothing worse than investing this much time and stamping my name and putting you in contact with my people, my talent buyers, my people like this, and then find out you're not serious.
Well, I've heard you talk very thoroughly, like on your page, about how, like just with like kind of like, it seems like thoughts or like blurbs about how a band can't come to you and expect, if they're not putting in the work in terms of promoting themselves at the levels that they can, because in this day and age, it's pretty easy to come up with an Instagram and a Facebook, a website, there's so many ways. SoundCloud. I mean, how did The Weeknd get popular? It was, a SoundCloud. Not to say that's necessarily equivalent, right? But if a band's not serious, like you said, in that aspect, and then they come to you and they're like, "Hey, check out my mixtape, bro," but it might be this love project that took them 5 years in their basement. But are they out trying to make relationships with their local venues? Is that the kind of stuff that you look for, like their rapport and their business sense, or where is that limit?
The number one thing that I look for is the music. It's got to sound good. Number two thing I look at is is kind of closely related. I look at the image. I look at the aesthetics. I want to see what they look like, because sex sells, image sells. Of course. I gotta believe in your product. You gotta fit what you're selling. So if you're a rap hip, well, here's a good story. There's a lot of white rappers out there right now. There's a lot of trap rap white rappers.
Okay.
I don't believe a lot of them.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I just don't. It's just, there's a couple of them that live their brand.
It's a character, essentially. Yeah, I get you.
So, Post Malone, I believe his shit.
Sure.
Because he's a musician. On top of that, he's shown us that.
Right. Or like a Mac Miller type, right?
Yeah, or Mac Miller, or Little Peep, or something like that. So, but there's a lot of clean cut rappers that are out there that and I don't want to name anyone, but I've already told him publicly, so I'll Chatty, right? Friend of mine, Chad Sitliff. He was in a band called Somewhere to Call Home. He was the drummer. He was the original founding member. But I don't believe what he's selling now. And I love him to death.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to be the one to dream kill him, because he says he's getting success. But I'm telling you, until I believe that project, I can't do anything for it.
You telling me the story reminds me of, and this is not correlating specifically, but I'm sure this is clear cut enough for anybody that understands. When Garth Brooks became Chris, what the fuck was
Chris started with a T.
Yeah, it was like so he was like, he had the soul patch, he had the hair.
He had the Matt Cutzel emo's not dead fucking hair.
Like a Keith Urban look. Like a Keith Urban look. Yeah. And that project died an early death and a happy death for anybody that had ever accidentally heard any of that shit. But it's that same concept where if you're going to switch, that reminds me of bands that go and they switch out like every fucking member of the band, and then they still call it the same band. And I'm like, I mean, you guys play their songs, and I understand that maybe I don't understand that, right? From your perspective, I can't think of a good band that would be. So let's
Drowning Pool.
Okay, there. So bands that are commercial like that, where you are selling Drowning Pool because that has this like, oh, I know this band, right? Like I could see that perspective, but from a promoter's perspective, musically morally, does that make you feel like shit to like? If Drowning Pool came up on a $50,000 arena contract or something like that, would you back them purely on the business sense, or Do you feel like you're violating your music sense? And you could not answer also, because I realize that this is your business. But
no, I'll answer it. I mean, I'm not afraid to answer it. The answer is absolutely not. First of all, drowning pool, $50,000. No, you better take off like I'm gonna say about $42,000
really?
off of that.
Oh no!
Yeah. So. Because they don't pull the way they used to.
Yeah.
Now, drowning pool's doing the barbecues and the festivals and the county fairs.
Right.
They are the act,
that kind of thing. Sure.
Yeah. They're the act that is cheap enough to hire, but you don't have to sell tickets to it. But people will probably stop and watch basically at the county fair because they're like, oh yeah, I remember drowning pool. Let the bodies to the floor. Yeah. Stuff like that. And it's okay. It's okay. They're probably doing more like 500 to 1,000 cap shows for their money, at maybe like $15, $20 a ticket. So they're taking 70%.
So how am I seeing? What? Oh fuck! I don't know why I'm drawing a blank. The MTV show where you go see their house. What's it called? Pimp My Crib or whatever the fuck it's called. Cribs. Right. Yeah. Fucking. So how am I seeing artists at these numbers? What is the formula for success that keeps them going? I mean, is it literally like just how viral you become? Or, I mean, like, let's say we see Rob Zombie, who's a rock artist. This is not technically mainstream in terms of, I don't know, maybe that's a bad example, but I realize he's got
because he is mainstream, and he's more of that niche of artistic, and so he's getting ready to go out on tour, and he's getting ready to drop an album. So you're going to hear it being played, and he's built a following through White Zombie as well as his solo Rob Zombie career.
His movies and shit. But how is he making money? I guess is my question.
He can do a small arena with a couple more other people on that bill, and probably get close to sell out on that arena.
See.
Like the 6,000 to 8,000 cap arenas, like the ice skating rings and shit.
And is he taking home? I don't know. Like, is that how he's making his millions? You know what I mean? Like, is that how he takes it home?
It depends.
Okay.
All right. So, in the truck driving industry, remember I told you I just came back to Warner. I was working for Stage Call. I ended up leaving Warner and going to Stage Call, and we do all the production, the tours, and stuff like that.
Set up and tear down for bands and shit, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, no. I was just a truck driver.
Okay.
The other guys, I just make sure the stuff is secured, and then I unhook it, and then they pull it out of my truck, and then I go park and chill out all day long. Watch bands when I want to. Fucking
smarter, not harder. I get that, bro. Yeah. I get that.
That's right. But anyway, so I won't name this band, but we were on this tour with them. I thought the tour was much a success. We were playing pretty good arenas. They're a very well-known a cappella group. We'll put it that way.
Okay.
All right. There's only really one a cappella group that everyone pretty much knows. So I thought it was very good, but apparently, Live Nation bought the contract. They were under Live Nation contract.
Okay.
So Live Nation said, hey, X band, we will pay you X amount of dollars every show. Same thing. Remember the whole Nickelback $1 million a show?
Yeah.
Right? But they did very well because Nickelback, as much shit as you want to give Nickelback.
At one point, they were selling the fuck out of some tickets, sure.
Yeah. And, get your money, boo-boo. Get your money, because there will come a day when that money doesn't come in.
Right.
So yeah. And I remember one day the accountant walked by. And I, like I said, I didn't know. I'm just the truck driver. I'm just dropping lights off and getting unloaded, and then at the end of the night when it's time to load out, I'm getting loaded out and taken off to the next venue.
That's all you're doing, right?
Yeah, my wallet was fucking irritating.
I got rid of wallets a minute ago because of that tilt. I fucking hate that.
Well, so anyways, the accountant walked by and was like, "How we doing tonight?" He's like, yeah. And so we ended up having to talk. He's like, "Yeah, all these shows are horrible. We're barely either busting even or we're losing money."
Wow.
And remember, there's a lot of moving parts in that. You still have the production crew, the lighting guy, the sound guy, the program director, the production manager, the guy, all these kind of things, as well as the truck drivers,
the bar, the fucking vendors for just the front door, the security guys. I mean, there's a lot of mouths to feed, right?
Well, that's usually covered by the venue.
I see.
The venue will cover the venue will cover that kind of, but maybe the private security, but even private security for the actual band or the talent, that's probably hired by the talent. So
interesting.
It doesn't come through Live. So, Live Nation is getting X amount of percentage from the tickets, probably 70 to 80%. The rest of it gets kicked back to the venue, and then the venue probably is making money off the concession stands, because the concession stands are inflated prices.
Like,
$10,
you're saying $15 margaritas is not normal, bro? What do you mean?
No, I'm telling you that the fucking markup is crazy.
It is crazy.
That's how event staff at a venue gets paid, because they're hired by the venue and not necessarily by the talent.
Right.
So what I'm saying is the Live Nation was paying X amount of dollars and hoping to make a profit off of the tour, and apparently it wasn't. So
that's crazy, man.
So did that answer your question?
I mean, it's like, I realize there's levels to this thing, because I'm sure the guy that's promoting Metallica has a different perspective on things, because that's a shoe-in for millions of dollars, I'm sure, where you're not having any potentially. But I mean, again, maybe Metallica's a bad example. I don't know. Lady Gaga. I don't know. Something that's a sure bet. You know what I mean? That's going to draw in
Taylor Swift.
There we go. That'll draw that stadium type crowd. I'm sure that is a totally different business model.
Yeah, and that's what people don't realize, that the amount of money it goes to push that's what it's called, to push an artist, in hopes of that said artist is making thousands, millions of dollars on the back end. Now, when it comes to touring, said artist is making that, not necessarily the investors.
I see.
Investors are trying to make their money, either if it's a 360 deal or something like that, they're trying to make their money off of the merchandise, the album sales, the streaming, all those kind of things. So, but there are 360 deals out there, and what a 360 deal is basically, I will invest money into you, and how you're going to pay me back is, streaming or merchandise, and we'll do like a 70-30 split. I take 70, I'll give you 30. Streaming and all that stuff, I'll probably keep 100% of album sales and streaming until that's paid back.
I see.
Until X amount of dollars paid. They sometimes they will take, I've heard of it, I haven't seen it, take money from tour guarantees. I don't think that's right per se, but
that's like taking the tips from the waitress or some shit, right?
Exactly.
Sure.
Exactly there. So, but I'm also an investor in a lot of bands. Yeah. I've invested money in bands. I want to get my money back and make some money, because I'm a businessman at the end of the day. So, so do what you got to do to get your money back.
So what would you say? What would you say is the best way for a guy like me to support, like, the anchor? Like, what's the best method to support both parties, I guess, or all parties involved? Like, playing a stream, I know, is only worth pennies on the dollar, right?
I mean, buying a piece of merchandise.
Okay,
honestly, that's the best, because like that T-shirt you're wearing, that T-shirt cost us about $7 to make. You bought it for what, 25, I think?
I don't even remember. I just said buy. I just told her to throw whatever on there.
Yeah, I think his normal price for a T-shirt is 25. So $7 is the cost for it, and we sell it for 25. So we've doubled. We usually have a 100% profit on it.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we made the 3 was a 10. We made $18 on that.
Okay. And then you take your percentage out of it. I see. See, I've always wondered.
Oh, I don't take anything from merchandise. That's the anchor. I strictly, my money is made off of touring and guarantees that I get paid at the door. And
I got you. Okay.
Usually what, I get 10%. That's the deal we have together. They came in before I started to implement a retainer, and the retainer, like I said, because I realize I'm doing more than just booking.
Yeah.
I'm, trying to do this, do that, and that, I'm motivated by money. Who isn't?
Right.
I mean,
but you got to have a guy like you in your corner. Like, I don't, I work full time and so does my wife. And honestly, I don't have a need so far. I guess nobody can say they don't have a need for more money, but like the podcast is not my bread and butter per se. I know that the content that I bring is good because I know I'm not a dumbass and I have a good ability for interviewing, but it's not something that's a focus for me. And I think that a lot of people underestimate when they are trying to make this into a business model, from a podcast perspective, to have a guy like you in their corner, because you are thinking about the money all the time, where a podcast maybe is the wrong perspective, but even from like an artist, you're talking about an artist perspective where they're not a business expert. I'm not a business expert. I know how to fucking talk to people. I have interests. I can do this journaling thing, and I love doing this.
And that's kind of where we're at with Sebastian. Even though he does have a business side, I want him to focus on just being the talent and do those things while I take care of the business that makes the money so they can continue to do the talent thing. And here's the deal. I don't want people to come off and think that I'm just some money hungry, fucking the greedy guy. No, I have a heart. Yeah. I have a heart. Oh, we were talking about my record label, Human Heart Records. Yeah. We never got to finish that story.
My bad.
I opened it up. I was doing 50-50 deals, and I was actually giving some money for marketing, anywhere between $500 to like $1,500, depending on the album, way it sounded, where I think it could go. Yeah. We know we have to, buy some ads, and we know we have to put some graphics in some magazines kind of thing. But then I realized, I didn't realize until I really started to dive into the numbers that, holy shit, people are not buying albums. They're not buying CDs. Right. They're streaming. 70% of your music that is being digested is streaming.
For sure.
Yeah. Now we literally are almost 100%, and the only time you buy a physical vinyl album or CD is at a show.
Right, and even then, it's like almost all vinyl. It's like that shit came back, man.
It's all vinyl, and because it's nostalgic. Right. It's a bragging right.
Bro, it's lossless, bro. What do you mean? It's lossless. Come on, it's the best quality. Yeah, What's wrong with you?
All right, I will agree to disagree when it comes to quality of a vinyl record, because there are great vinyl record makers, and then there are bad ones.
Now that's
and then there are bands that buy the wrong kind of vinyl and don't realize, you have the legit vinyl that has all this stuff into it, and then you have the lathe cut.
Sure, because I know that Jack White made a record that was it was the back of the so it was front, it was back, and then if you played it backwards, you had other content that you didn't have when you played it frontwards. And this was all from like newer
that shit costs a lot of money.
Does it really?
And then now we have the colorization, the liquefying, the aesthetic, the look of a vinyl these days. Yeah. Animal Sun, we have a vinyl coming out when eventually, and we'll start pre-sale for that when the album comes out. Then we'll do the pre-sale, because that shit costs a lot of money.
Sure.
I mean, you're dumping at least $6,000 to $8,000 for like 100 vinyls.
Holy shit! I didn't know that, dude.
Yeah. Well, when you make it, you got the cut. You got to make the die for it. You got the packaging for it. You have to probably special order the vinyl rubber for it. The stickers, the centerpiece stickers that go on, all these kind of things. It's not a CD,
right? And it's
CDs
not digital.
You can get for $1.49 each. So
right, that's interesting, man. So let me. I want to before I.
Oh yeah, well, I want to. So let me finish with the. So I ended up having to shut down the record label and give back all the music to the artists that were on it, and say, sorry guys, after 8 months, because I was like, I am never going to make any money. I'm just going to keep dumping money into this, and I'm never going to make a profit. So I learned from there that moment on, in a lot of things where, yes, the nature of the beast when it comes to the music side of the house, the business side of the house is maybe not aesthetically appealing to everybody.
Right.
But for me, I don't mind being the bad guy that has to think of your numbers, how much money to make, what's our budget, those kind of things, because I want you to focus on doing what you do best, create.
Right.
I will take care of all the rest. We're still going to talk about it. We're still going to brainstorm together, but I will deal with the headaches, and I will take the Excedrins and the beers and the shots and whatever it is to cope with these problems so you can be happy. And that's what people don't forget, that if you have a great manager, they're shielding you from a lot of bullshit.
Right.
In order so you can in order for you to survive and do what it is that you want to do, because if you come from a place of happiness, or you come from a place of, now granted, the best artists that make music are the ones that are traumatized. Happy artists don't make them as well, but I don't want you to deal with ordering the CDs and worrying about the packaging,
getting shorted by a venue guy, because that always was a big fear of mine.
Getting shorted by a venue guy even sucks. For a booking agent, I hate having to make that phone call to that talent buyer and saying, "Hey, motherfucker, what happened? Why are you screwing my band like that?" I just tell them, "Hey, go ahead and get on over to the next venue. I'll take care of this." Because what usually happens is the promoter chicken shit out, walked out, whatever something happened. Sometimes it's the band's fault. He'd be like, "Your band was." I don't really get it, because I pick up really good bands, but maybe the band was rude and mean, and he's like, "Fuck you."
Yeah.
Why should I pay you if you're, and maybe only brought 5 people.
Right.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, bands, you're responsible for bringing bodies through that front door, not that promoter, not that venue, not the opening acts. You are, when you're that touring band. It's hard. Yes. Use your Google ads, use your Facebook ads. Otherwise, don't fucking tour in that area until you can at least bring 10 to 20 heads.
Man, and that's honestly, to me, that sounds like a low number. So honestly, I feel like that's a nice objective goal for I've had artists on the show before, and I've had a lot of them that they talk about how they're mostly running out of the studio. And like you had said, you've got certain types of genres that work, let's say in the Albuquerque area. Rap is not necessarily something that people are picking up albums like they're fucking going out of style. Metal, not the same either, but I give a lot of advice in terms of like, find somebody that knows more than you do. Being a good artist inside of your chair, inside of an office, in your back room, in your mom's basement, you might sound fucking great because you can run Fruity Loops, but when it comes to like actually putting on shows and shit like that, I don't know. And the reason why I say so is because from my perspective, even as a podcaster, man, I don't, a lot of the guys that are doing big shit, doing big stuff with podcasts, a lot of them are getting into places that it's way above me in terms of promotion, So that's huge, man, to give up and coming artists and even podcasters that type of advice. What would you say is the one thing that you could tell people now that, I guess bands in particular, that you wish you had known earlier on? Like, is there some sort of a path or some sort of a, like, I don't know. I've always thought like, putting yourself out, spending money on a recording studio yourself, and it doesn't necessarily have to be $300 an hour, but spending money on like good engineering is always the advice I give. Do you have any advice that you give to like an up and coming artist besides the stuff that you've said, which I know is solid gold, but what's the golden rule? Some shit that you just live by.
There are 1,000 ways to do it right, but there are maybe 1 or 2 ways to do it wrong. Once you learn the ways to do those wrong, don't ever fucking do it again.
I love it.
That's one of my things. The second one is also learn. Be a person that absorbs as like a sponge. So if you're a musician and and this is piggybacking kind of off of what you just said about engineering. If you're constantly going to the guy that's engineering and tracking you, what's stopping you from learning this technique?
Right.
It's not, and honestly, tracking is not hard. It's mix and mastering that's the hard one, because you have to have an ear for it, and you have to know your megahertz and your ohms and all these kind of things to get that right sound off of that clean stem. So, I always tell bands, track your shit at your house. Guitars, string instruments, you can track. And guess how much time you're saving when you go to the studio? He plugs those stems in, and I just spit all over the place for no reason.
It might be low quality res. We may not have seen it, bro.
Yeah. All right. I hope so. No 1080p.
Right.
Go 720.
I got you.
Yeah. But, if you can track your guitar, your bass, your stringed instruments, maybe your piano, synth, all those kind of things, maybe even drums if you're using if you're not using a live field drum kit and maybe just doing tracked track trigger drums.
Gear that's worth a shit.
You can track all that shit at home, clean, mind you, clean, and then take it to a studio, and a great mix and master or producer can plug those in, bring up the levels to where it needs to be, and then all you got to do now is just track vocals.
Right.
That's it.
Easy money.
Vocals are important because you don't want to hear
right.
Well, someone's like,
or knocking on the door, like you guys may have heard my son trying to break into my fucking room right now to interrupt my podcast.
Yeah.
I locked that
or maybe I don't know. I'm amazed. I'm amazed. A lot of people, and that's the reason why I chose this Shure versus the SMB7. Other than it's a plug and play USB, but it doesn't pick up as much sound, and I'm always worried about the guy with the reefer next to me, and his reefer's just going
you
off.
Just hear it the whole time.
Or maybe the baffles off. Like I'm right next to the Highway 80. I can hear those old school truckers with the those baffles.
Yeah, hit the Jake brakes.
That down brake.
Yeah, you can hear it going.
Jake's brake.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Well, dude,
it's just so annoying.
No, but to me, this podcast worked out great. I really appreciate you coming on, Sam. And I think that if you're willing to, I'd love to see what you got going on a year from now, something like that. And then that way we might be able to talk a little bit more.
Well, hopefully I will be successful and I'll have that artist. But, 20 years in this industry, that's been my number one downfall is I can only invest in an artist. They got to carry it the way. They're the ones that create. I'm just the business partner side of it. So it does suck a lot of times. I haven't found that right chemistry of that artist that has that level of success. But I'm always learning. I'm always evolving. I'm always doing something that can better myself and better the artist that I represent. And so, hopefully by a year from now, I'll be too good to talk to you, Marty. I'll be like, sorry.
Hey, bro, I just want to see you out of a truck when you're hitting me up. I want to see you in some studio setup. You got that green screen. You got some like young Jamie.
I don't. That's the thing is, I don't. I just don't know. There's the part of me that loves this so much is the traveling. And I don't. And matter of fact, I'm going through a situation. I think I told you about it. I'm going through a situation at this moment that I gave up that in order to do this because it fits my life more, and I'm too afraid to step into a home life type of position.
That's interesting
because this works out so perfect for me, and I have to do this in order to build that life over there. I would love to have a house in, I don't know, eastern Tennessee, overlooking the Smoky Mountains, and bands are come flying into Knoxville, Tennessee, and they're coming out, and we're recording, and we're doing business plans and all these. I would love that,
crew, bro.
Yeah. However, I know myself. That can only last for so many months out of the year, and then the rest of the time, I got to be out. I got to be talking to people.
Yeah.
I got to be shaking hands. I got to be visiting friends. I got to be participating in life events that you need your business partners to be a part of.
Right, building that rapport and making those connections. Glad handing those rich dudes, bro. I know how it goes. I mean, I don't know how it goes, but I can imagine that's what you're doing.
Wait, what did you say? Glad handing those rich dudes? Is that like jacking them off? I'm trying to figure out if that was no.
Don't look into it.
Look,
I
am a manager that will do anything for my artist,
except for jerk.
There are some limitations because I do not own knee pads.
You heard it first, motherfuckers. In case you're hitting them up, expecting those expectations. Well, fucking Sam, I appreciate you for coming on, bro. Let the listeners know where we can find like your up and coming artists, and then of course the Loud Spot. So plug it again for me if you would, brother.
So if you guys, if you're looking for my artist, you can find at www.diamondnoiseagency.com. And if you have the time, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, anytime between 7 and 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, we air the Loud Spot with Sebastian, and you can find that on all the platforms. I recommend just going to the Facebook page, because when we go live, boom, you're going to be notified. So make sure you click that. If not, you can find us on YouTube.
Click the bell so that way it lets you know.
Yeah, you got to click. You got to click that bell. But we always go live Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Our Tuesday show is usually moved to Friday, so it's pre-recorded live. But we're in there. We're talking. And now we have a new thing. We have a band versus band. So if you go and comment on our YouTube page on that band versus band, we'll put your name, and at the end of the week, someone's getting a free t-shirt, and then we're going to take all those names, and we're going to have this big old blowout grand prize kind of thing. Dude. We're thinking PS5, all those kind of things.
Don't say those. Don't say that to me, bro. Amazing.
But if any of that, and you're just a regular old podcast person that like audio podcasts, just go to www.theloudspot.net, and right there is the player. We have our merchandise right there. We have some pretty cool merchandise. We got more cool merchandise coming on the way, because I'm pushing more different than just putting the Loud Spot name on something. You're going to have some really cool music related.
Bro, yeah, there's a lot of cool ass garments going around, especially in the COVID age, bro.
That's right.
Hell yeah. Okay. Well, and of course, if you guys are listening to this podcast, you're listening to us on Google Podcasts, you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts, and of course, you can listen to the Loud Spot on those places as well. Sam, I appreciate you coming on, bro. And of course, we'll see you next time, bro. Good luck to you in the next coming months. And thank you so much for expanding my knowledge when it comes to promoting and bands and fucking the Anchor, bro. New album coming out. Keep an eye out for that,
New album coming out. I don't have any dates for you. They're keeping it hush-hush from me.
Lies.
I don't know why.
I want to hold faith that you're doing your job and you're holding it down for your people, bro. I'm sure you know, but that's okay. I'm sure it's in the next 6 months.
They're not telling me. Okay, there's a reason why they're not telling me. And if you ask Corey, he's like, Sam never likes our stuff. Kind of. For the most part, he's right. What it was is he always asked that he wanted that reassurance, that that kitty reassurance, that am I doing good, Dad?
Come on, pat me on the back.
I am not. I don't like to give backhanded compliments like that. So
on, Corey.
I'm like, no,
Corey.
it sucks. It sucks. However, though, one day he told me, you really do hurt my feelings when you tell me that. And I was like, oh shit, I thought I'm being funny. So honestly, it wasn't until the Breathe album. And it wasn't Through Rose. Through Rose was the one song that really resonated with me, and I just felt.
I love that shit, bro.
So I will. So I think they're keeping it from me because they want me to see the final finished product, so I can't argue about it. With them on anything, which is fine. I will tell you, there are a lot more poppier elements, not necessarily a whole pop. It's not a pop song, pop song.
Yeah.
But more a day to remember again.
That's the evolution
but more
though, bro. That's how they've been going anyways. They have this evolution to them, bro, and I'm excited to see it because it's, I mean, like I said, this is not your ragtag type of band, hence why their popularity that's out there. These guys are different. They're creative. So I look forward to see what the Anchor's doing, and then fucking, hopefully Sam's got
me too.
For some live shows, bro. Right.
Yeah.
All right, brother. Well, I appreciate you, man. Thank you for coming on. I have we'll stay on after I click the fucking the off button. But for all you folks at home, diamondnoiseagency.com. And I appreciate you guys coming on to listen to me ramble with Sam. All right, you guys be safe.
All right, guys. Be safe.